If you have a cell phone, would you please place it on silent? Start over. Good evening and welcome to the Coffeyville City Commission meeting for Tuesday, July 10th, 2018. Tonight's invocation will be led by Rick Schaefer of First Assembly of God. Please stand for the invocation and remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance to the American flag.
It's an honor to be here to say the prayer for our great city. Dear Lord, I'm so thankful for the freedom that we have in our country to be able to assemble ourselves and to govern ourselves. And Lord, as this commission goes about this tonight, Lord, I just ask a special blessing, a special anointing be upon them with every decision that they make. And Lord, just touch and anoint each one of them, Lord. Lord, as we take care of the business, we just ask that that our community be thrust into success in the future. We ask a blessing upon each family, each individual, each business and industry within the community, Lord, that each be successful. Lord, we just thank you and we give honor and glory to you. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Mr. Schaefer. Move into the consent agenda. City Commission meeting minutes for Tuesday, June 26, 2018. City Commission special meeting minutes for Monday, July 2nd, 2018. And 2018 appropriation ordinance number AO-18-13 in the amount of $596,876.25. Are there any questions or amendments that need to be made to the first three items?
I have none, and I move to approve the consent agenda as read.
I'll second it.
Motion was made by Commissioner Williams and seconded by Commissioner Van Oster to approve the consent agenda as presented. Mayor Bauer.
Aye.
Commissioner Taylor.
Aye.
Commissioner Williams.
Aye.
Commissioner Doan.
Aye.
Commissioner Van Oster.
Aye.
Now we'll move into our public hearing, special presentation, and proclamations. Report from Retail Strategies. Clay Kraft from Retail Strategies will provide an update.
Good afternoon, Mayor and Commission. Thank you very much for having us here today. I'm joined by Keith Shamblin. He is part of the team that is actively recruiting retail for Coffeyville. I'm looking forward to giving you guys an update on what we've been working on over the last 2 years and kind of where we're going from here. So we're going to talk about a high-level retail industry overview as it stands. I know there's a lot of doom and gloom in the news, but I'm going to kind of combat that a little bit. Then we're going to talk about the market as a whole, and then we're going to talk about some of the feedback and recap we've gotten so far. So without further ado, I will start. Okay. You're gonna click. Okay. 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 So why does a municipality invest resources in retail recruitment? There's a lot of reasons: tax revenue, job creation, quality of life, new business. But what are the challenges that a municipality faces? Resources, time, connections, experience. Retail recruitment is the function of commercial real estate. Commercial real estate is a relationship business. So our company has the connections with retailers, developers that are moving the needle in Oftentimes we're recruiting retailers, phone calls, emails, etc. It might not be the first phone call or email, it might be the fourth or fifth. So it's a very persistent effort that you have to apply to recruit retail. Looking at the retail recruitment ladder, you can kind of see the financial and economic impact of retail recruitment. And retail is very much a function of economic development. If you look at some of the tiers of these retailers, you can see the economic impact and the job impact that the retailer can create. A lot of time and energy is focused on the recruitment industry, which is great. You have to have industry to have retail. They really prop each other up. But if you get small wins through restaurants, average restaurant, quick service restaurant creates 15, 20 jobs. So if you get some small wins like that, you're talking about real job growth. Retail actually makes up 25% of the jobs in the United States. The big knock on that is big knock on retail jobs that on average they are low paying, but on average they're actually about $1,000 more per job than the non-retail jobs. If you pay attention to the headlines, all you see is doom and gloom in retail. I'm here to tell you that 16 of these 16 brands right here represent half of all the retail closings. So in 2017, we saw about 8,000 retail locations close. These 16 make up 50% of those. So you see Radio Shack, Payless Shoes, Rue 21, those got caught up in bad private equity deals in the recession. You see some outdated brands like Sears and Radio Shack. Those are just retailers that did not catch up to consumer demands and got left behind. You see going forward in 2017, there were actually about 4,200 new stores from these 16 brands right here. We're seeing tremendous growth in the dollar stores, grocery, especially discount grocery. The one thing the recession has taught us that the middleman is winning out. So people, on average, will spend more money after the recession on lower priced goods, and they'll occasionally reach out for those luxury items. So we're seeing brands like Dollar Tree, Dollar General doing 1,000 stores per year. They're going to continue that track. Really, the dollar store has become the new general store. It's lost the stigma of that low price store, and tremendous growth in grocery and restaurants. 16,000 restaurants planned for 2018, 2019. We talk about restaurants and things like grocery stores. We're talking about things that are e-commerce proof. So you still can't buy your groceries online. You still can't buy your lunch and dinner online. So these are going to be the way of the future. Retailers are having to change to adapt to the world of e-commerce. Let's talk about the 8 defensible retail categories. So food, we talked about fast fashion. Fast fashion is like the H&M, the Zara brands, the higher priced goods that you can get for a lower cost. Frugal fashion, TJ Maxx, Ross. These are brands that are kind of a bargain hunt type mentality. It's all about creating experience in retail. It's all about getting retail consumers inside the retail stores. Fun. You talk about the bounce houses, the laser tags, things like this. These are the retailers that are filling the old anchors when Sears and Kmart leave. These are the types of retailers that are filling that. Fitness. Still can't go to the gym online. Furniture. You want to try out that couch before you buy it. Frugal food and grocery. That's going to be your Aldi and your Lidl, which is the German competitor to Aldi that's growing all across the United States. And actually, phone. T-Mobile is actually the fastest growing retailer in the United States in 2017. But there's nothing but growth ahead for e-commerce. Retailers are really just there's no going back from where we are now. So retailers are really having to change and adapt their approach to bring consumers in the stores going forward. So millennials, whether your population has a lot of millennials or little millennials, you're having to deal with the fallout because millennials are now the largest consumer spending group in the United States. And this is kind of funny, but over half of millennials say they would rather give up their sense of smell than the technology. And as a millennial, I will attest for that. So retailers are really having to adapt to the millennials. They want an experience. They would rather take a picture of their food and put it on their social media feed than actually eat it. And that's just really what retailers are having to do with going forward. But if you look at the mobile device, the mobile device really shows the consolidation that we've seen in retail. retail. So if you look at your smartphone, you think about all the things that 15 years ago you would purchase in a retail location.
I just got a text, and some of the public would like you to stand closer to the mic.
Okay.
Evidently, we're on TV,
Gotcha.
and they can't hear you.
Okay.
They've got that, so.
So if
could
you
move that closer, could you, if you wanted to? the
Sure.
whole thing, whatever. Will that thing roll or move? I think it will. Okay, thanks.
Okay. Perfect. Yes. So if you think about consolidation of retail, the mobile device really sums it up. So if you think about 15 years ago, all the things you would purchase in a retail location, you now have your camera on your smartphone, you now have your phone, your alarm clock, you get the news, you watch TV. I could go on and on. GPS, you no longer buy GPS at Walmart, it's on your phone. TV, printer, there's so many things that are now included in a mobile device. It really sums up the consolidation the retailers have faced. One of the tools that retailers are using is called Omni Channeling. It's one of the big words that's in retail right now. But think of it as a seamless integration between bricks and online platforms. So if you look at retailers like Walmart, Lowe's, Home Depot, they actually have larger SKUs on their online presence than they do in the brick and mortar stores. And that's because they offer things like, you can buy online and have it shipped to the store for free. The modern day consumer demands free shipping. Amazon has taught us that, and it's what we demand. But the brick and mortars are getting free shipping to their store because they know if you go into Walmart, you're not just going to pick up that one good. You're going to buy other things while you're in the location. And that's called buy online, pick up in store. It's just one of the main reasons that the larger brick and mortars are succeeding right now. But the good news is that 78% of consumers still prefer to shop in store. On average, the average consumer spends about $1,700 in store versus about $250 online. The conversion rates are much higher in stores. So it's good news going forward. Don't pay attention to headlines. It's really just consumers that are. So this is very much a partnership. We're based out of Birmingham, Alabama. We came out of a retail commercial brokerage firm. So we definitely depend on the local, on the ground, and I'll say Trisha's been our consistent guiding light, eyes and ears on the ground. She's provided us everything we've needed throughout this partnership and has been a tremendous asset to us. So now we're going to take a high-level look at the market. We're going to go through our process, really the playbook of how we recruit retail, and then we're going to talk about connecting the dots. So getting to the research, on the left is our membership subscriptions. This is really just what keeps us plugged into what's happening on a national level. We get reports of retailers that are closing, expanding, contact information. On the right is our data providers, Tetrad, SiteWise. I'll just say about this, it's a lot of information, but we conducted a national search to find the best online data provider. It's the one that all the major national retailers use in Walmart, Costco. As those guys move, we'll continue to update our process based on what they're doing. It's really just all about singing off the same page of music. And our data comes from these government sources. So what we have at our disposal is 9,700 retailer contact information and site selection criteria. In our reporting, we've got 87 reports. We can do reports on 3,300 variables. We run 7 different geographies. That's 3 drop times, 3 radius rings, and a custom trade area. So if you do the math on that, that's 23,000 variables to analyze. So we talk about the complexity of retail recruitment. When you're talking to a retailer, you have to know exactly what they're looking for. You have to know the market type. You have to know what kind of site they like. Because if you send a retailer a site that doesn't make sense for them, they're probably going to ignore your request, and it's going to cut off that personal relationship. So we'll see here the city boundaries of Coffeyville. I'll say that city boundaries do not matter to retailers. They're going to see your market, something like this. So while this looks like a pretty busy infographic, if you start to break the layers down, it really starts to tell a story. So we've got layers of median household income. We've got dot density maps showing where people live and work. And then we've got the geographies that we're looking at. So when a retailer is looking at Coffeyville, they don't see the imaginary lines of city boundaries. They're looking in a market like this.
So where do you get that information?
That's from our data provider called Tetrad. We've got a full software system that lets us look at. We can break everything down by median household income, by
Well, I haven't seen any of that information. Find that to us, have we?
So we have a portal called Basecamp, and we upload all of the information on there. There's thousands and thousands of reports that are on Basecamp. I'm happy to provide that to you.
We'd like to get, whatever you can provide us.
Sure. Yeah, we've got it all. So we can inundate you with information. This report is just really kind of an easy bite into that information because it's so many. It really is overwhelming. It would take.
Well, that one that showed the town and the stuff like that.
Sure.
I would think we'd want that kind of
Yeah,
information.
absolutely. We've got it all. It's all at your disposal. Happy to provide anything you like. So the next side is, if you think about a football coach with a play card on his hip, this is kind of the play card for Coffeyville. So there's some things that we're having to combat here. You look at the projected growth rate, negative percentage across the board. You look at the current year bachelor degree at 13%. That's a pretty low compared to the national average. Most retailers are looking at markets around the 20% mark. But there's a way to frame the market and tell a story. If a retailer is just looking at Coffeyville through their cookie cutter lens of we need this XYZ criteria, if we can tell a story or paint a unique picture of what's happening on the ground, we can provide value to retailers like that.
Trish, did you already have this one, that one?
Yes, and we use it constantly.
Okay.
It's just a
really?
massive database that we use,
Okay.
but
Got it.
we have given you guys the marketing materials that has this in there. It's that big 8.5 or 20 by 8.5 sheet of paper that I give you guys. It's green.
I thought I'd seen something on the radius and getting it. I just wondered if you just curious on that one.
It's
I just
probably
kinda
been
plucked that one
7
out
or
of
8
here.
months, I think, since we've done the updated version. We used it in Las Vegas, and I've been updating it since Las Vegas.
Okay, thanks.
But one of the most exciting things that we have at our disposal now, which is pretty new, we're actually exposing a lot of retailers to this information now because they don't have access to it. It's called mobile data collection. So in a nutshell, what this is if you have a mobile phone with location services enabled, if you went into the Walmart Supercenter during the past year, from April 2017 to April 2018, this program picked up your location. And what it does is it tracks the average nightly location of that mobile device. And what that tells us is your home location. So the next slide is going to show you, it creates a heat map. So this is a heat map of all of the consumers that shopped at the Walmart Supercenter within the last year.
You got one more?
Yep, no worries. So within the last year, this is a heat map of all the consumers that shopped in the Walmart. So the red is the highest density, the blue being the lowest density. But in a real-time perspective, because this updates every night, we are able to see the custom trade area for a specific location. So we can run this for any location in Coffeyville to see what the actual trade area of the market is. So this is our iteration of the custom trade area, and all the demographics that we're going to be looking at going forward is based off of this custom trade area. We're talking to retailers. We know what type of trade areas they're looking for. But if a retailer comes to us and says, we feel like the trade area of Coffeyville is only 18,000, we can show this report to back that up and say it's actually what we're going to discuss here. And this is just the outline of that trade area. So within the custom trade area, roughly estimated population of about 39,000. Still a projected growth rate of negative 3%. Looking at the average age of about 42. Predominantly white population. And this is just to show a snippet of the type of information we're able to glean. This is by no means a all-encompassing report. It's just to show our capabilities. But we've got close to 20,000 households, median household income of about 40,000. 37% of the houses are two-person households. Average housing unit about 100,000. Mainly occupied and then mainly owner-occupied. Average of about 2.4 people per household. Daytime population actually grows, which is a very good thing. That's what restaurants are looking for. Restaurants need the daytime population to support their sales. Most of the limited service, quick service restaurants do most of their numbers during the day, so they want to see strong numbers. So obviously we've got a strong student population and a very strong employee population. Predominantly 60% blue collar, the average employee salary of about 40,000. Again, the bachelor's degree at custom trade areas at 26 Still relatively low based on the national average, but there's certainly ways to combat that. So now we're going to talk about the tapestry segmentation. And the tapestry segmentation is a way that Esri has come up to essentially stereotype neighborhoods across the United States. This is by no means anything that we came up with, but retailers are using this because, if you think about a consumer that fits into let's just say a white male, age 40, on the national average, they will have a certain stereotype. But the tapestry segmentation breaks down the neighborhood and tells the retailers what this consumer might spend their money on. So we're going to talk about the top three tapestry segmentations. I'm just going to kind of read some of the highlights of the market profile. We see the top five here: traditional living, heartland communities, midlife constants, comfortable empty nesters, and social security. And why this is important is because retailers, they know their core consumer. So if all things are equal, maybe let's say they're comparing Coffeyville to maybe 10, 20 other markets across the United States. If they know that their core consumer is X, that's going to tell them that, if there's more of their core consumer in Coffeyville than the other markets, all things being equal, Coffeyville will probably be a good location for them. So traditional living, median age here is 35. Just a snippet highlighted the market profile on traditional living. They shop at grocery stores, discount grocery stores such as Walmart supercenters. Convenience stores are commonly used for picking up fuel and incidentals. They tend to carry credit card balances and have personal loans and pay bills in person. They're fast food devotees, and they enjoy outdoor activities such as fishing and taking trips to the zoo.
We know where's that one?
What's that?
Do you know where that is right there?
Traditional living?
Now, where is it? Says households 2,395,200.
Yep.
Where is that?
So that number right there is pulled from the national level. So on the national level, there are 2.4 million households that are considered traditional living. The highest percentage of people in Coffeyville within a 5-minute drive time is the traditional living. Now we do have.
Okay, so that's nationwide.
These numbers right here nationwide, because we're stereotyping Coffeyville's consumer against the national average, because retailers could be comparing Coffeyville to, let's say, a city in Iowa or maybe Nebraska. So we have to make all things equal here.
I got you.
The next one is called Heartland Communities. Average age here, a little bit lower at 42. The market profile on this consumer is they're traditional in their ways. Residents of Heartland communities choose to bank and pay their bills and purchase insurance from an agent. Many residents have paid off their home and mortgages but still hold auto loans and auto and student loans. Home remodeling is not a priority, but homeowners do tackle necessary maintenance work on their cherished homes. They have invested in riding lawnmowers to maintain their larger yards. To get around these semi-rural communities, residents prefer domestic trucks to SUVs. And the third largest percentage is called the midlife constants. The market profile on this consumer, they prefer practical vehicles such as SUVs or domestic trucks. They're DIY homebodies that spend on home improvement and gardening, and leisure activities include movies at home, reading, fishing, and golf. So one thing I'll point out just on all three of those market profiles is they put a huge emphasis on home improvement. So that's just one of the things that we could go to a home improvement store and say, hey, there's a large contingent of consumers in Coffeyville that put an emphasis on home improvement. So there are many ways you can use this report, but retailers are using information like this to view your community. So the focus categories, we're going to talk about some of the top categories we feel for recruitment, some of the feedback we've had, and just what the markets and our intuition is telling us. So these numbers are based on the custom trade area. But if we're looking at the custom trade area, these are the amount of dollars that are leaking from outside that custom trade area. So general merchandise, we've got a leakage here of $56 million. Food and beverage stores, so that's going to be grocery. $23 million leakage in grocery, $14 million in building.
Okay, hang on, excuse me, I'm a little slow here.
Sure.
This is this area.
This is
You're
the.
talking about here with this, right?
We're talking about the custom trade area. So when we did the mobile data study, we traced that essentially the highest portion. So this goes, within the 40,000 population of the custom trade area. This is the amount of dollars that are leaking outside that.
So 40,000 people?
40,000 people were in that custom trade area that we
And
talked about on the
Okay,
previous
so we
slide.
got 56 million
For general merchandise
is moving out of here.
that is
They're
leaking
buying
outside of
non-local.
the trade area.
They're buying non-local.
Correct. Correct. So that doesn't mean that the consumers are. It's just there's more demand than what is in the supply that is inside that custom trade area. So if you do the math on a general merchandise stores, you can kind of break down to see what that trade area would support.
Okay, so is this a year, per year, annual?
Yes, this is
So
annual.
if you
number.
take 56 million and divide it by 40,000, was it households or people? It was 40,000
40,000 people, 18,000 households.
What is it? 40,000, 56 million divided by 40,000, what is that per person?
I would need a calculator for that one.
It's about, it's $100,000 or something like that, isn't it? 1,400, is that what it is? Okay. Well, that makes sense. It just seemed like a lot of money, 56 million. So that each person, average household is 2.2 people. I mean, I'm just trying to get a whole,
Sure,
you're
no,
going through a
I-
lot of information here, and
Yeah,
I'm
I
trying a
completely-
little bit of stick, but
Right.
each household, we've got about $2,600 or leaving,
And that's just from general merchandise.
just
category.
general merchandise.
So each category is a specific number, and they're all tied to this custom trade
Okay,
area.
okay.
So the
But
supply,
that's-
so the supply is actually based on a survey that the census board send out. So they, on a yearly basis, they survey random consumers to say, on an average, what do you spend at a grocery store? What do you spend eating out? And they take that compared to the demand, which is what is actually the dollars that are being captured in that market. So you do the math on that, and that's what
I
it's
see,
from. So,
I got
so
you.
it's definitely not an exact science to this, but
Right.
all the retailers are using it. So as long as we're all singing off the same page of music, this begins to tell a story.
I got you. It's interesting.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. So the food service and drinking places, 14 million. That's going to be your restaurants there. Furniture and home furnishing stores, 11 million. Clothing and accessory, 9 million. Electronics and appliance stores, 7 million. Sporting goods, hobby, book, music stores, 6 million. So those are the top categories of leakage for this custom trade area. So this slide shows our peer analysis. So what we've done here is we've taken all the contiguous states to Kansas and Kansas itself, and we filtered it down by residential population, daytime population, median household income, and market supply. So what that has given us is a list of cities that, on paper, looking at the 10-minute drive time at the Walmart supercenters in these cities, on paper, these trade areas are almost identical, or as close to identical as we can get. So within these cities, we're able to see on the back end, we're able to see what retailers are operating in these locations. So if we say, if their X retailer is in 6 of these 7 peer cities, we can go to that retailer and say, hey, Mr. Retailer, based on our study, you're in these 6 markets. You're not in Coffeyville. On paper, they're identical. Just looking at the residence population, daytime population, median household income, and we can start to paint a picture of that retailer as to why. If they pass over the market, maybe we can have them take a second or third look. So these are the numbers based on that peer analysis. So the green indicates the peer average. So the average amount of these category retailers based on the peer average, and the gray is how Coffeyville stacks up. So this is just the ones that Coffeyville falls short in. So the average peer city has 5 national automotive. Coffeyville has 4. The national peer has 2 clothing stores, where Coffeyville has 1. Full service restaurants, 1 to 0. General merchandise, 5 to 4. Health and medicine, 2 to 1. Limited service, 1 to 0. Quick service, 13 to 10. So this just shows you how much Coffeyville falls short based on their peers. And again, this is just another way of us layering, because essentially at the end of the day, what we're doing is approaching these retailers and trying to paint a compelling story to them as to why they should be here. So boots on the ground, during our first 3 months we were in the market. Again, we talked about a lot of data. Data tells us one thing, but our intuition tells us another. So this is the current real estate overview. if we sit down with a retailer at one of the ICSC shows and they don't know where Coffeyville is on the map, we can at least have this map to show them. Retailers know who they want to locate near, who they want to locate away from, so we can have a conversation with a retailer that doesn't know anything about Coffeyville and really start the conversation like that. These are some of the properties that we've cataloged during our time. Some of these properties are on the market, some are off, some are new development, redevelopment, higher, better use opportunities. We're contacting property owners as needed. We're taking these sites to retailers, getting feedback, and then connecting the dots like that. So retail prospects, let's talk about the 4 prospects that we feel are most needed and best fit for the market. So limited service restaurants, grocery, clothing, and hardware and home improvement. So on the outreach, and this is mine and Keith's day-to-day job.
Can we back up to that last one?
Yes, absolutely.
So you're saying, this is what you're saying that we need to focus on?
This is what we're focused on. This is what we feel based on the data, based on our market intuition.
So a grocery store maybe?
Grocery
Is that
store.
what that, grocery store?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, we definitely feel like there's opportunity for especially one of the discount groceries that are growing across the United States too. And the Gap report shows that it could support a grocery store.
Okay. Thank you, I got you.
Yep. So again, this is, on a day-to-day basis, me and Keith are essentially the green dot in this diagram. So retail tenant reps, local brokers, community leaders, developers, property owners. We're in the unique position because we're paid by the city. We don't represent any specific site. We don't represent any specific retailer. Everybody else working in our industry is tied to a specific site or a specific retailer. So if a retailer says, hey, we want to be in Coffeyville, but we don't want to be in the site you sent us, that's fine with us. We'll get you anywhere in the market you want, and we'll work with locals, we'll work with the community leaders to make things happen. So we're that middleman, we're that positive disruptor in the market, and we're moving the needle for retailers that have passed over the market in previous years. So conference representation, we represent Coffeyville on a national level. We were just out in Recon about a month and a half ago. That's the largest retail convention in the United States. There was about 35,000 people that attended that show. We also represent you guys at the Southeast show in Atlanta, the Texas show that's in Dallas. About 10 shows per year that we're representing Coffeyville on a national level, getting face-to-face with these retailers and presenting sites in the market. This is the marketing guy.
Real quick,
Yes.
Clay. So when you go to those shows, do you bring back any data? So skip to the chase.
Sure.
I mean, I personally don't feel like there's enough communication.
Okay.
If it was 7 or 8 months ago since we got some information, if you're going to these shows and representing us, I would love to have some information that says, we had so many people that were interested in Coffeyville.
Sure. We're 2 slides away from that.
Thank you, sir.
Sir. So this is the marketing guide that you now all have in front of you. This is especially important when we're emailing with a retailer or at a trade show. This really provides a snapshot of everything a retailer would need to see to make a snapshot judgment on the market. So on a yearly basis, we're re-implementing the strategy. Think of it as a funnel. We're putting information we've collected over the year, people we've talked to. As we get new data, the new data just came out last week, so we'll be updating y'all's data. We'll have all fresh new numbers within the next month, and we're putting that to work by calling retailers, calling developers, calling brokers that are working in the state and in the region. So that's just a quick up. Also, we want to be a source. We don't recruit local small businesses, but if there's a small business in Coffeyville that needs site-specific information, maybe we've got some very specific information that could tell a small business owner maybe what they, if they needed to carry a larger SKU of X goods, we can give them very detailed reports. So if there's any ever requests like that, we can certainly accommodate that. So here's the Recon recruitment update. Again, this was held about a month and a half ago. We had some really great meetings. This is just a high level. This is really the positive feedback that we received out at Recon. But Had a great meeting with the National Coffee Concept. They're rapidly expanding across the region. We're actively in discussions right now on 2 or 3 different sites with this concept. They've got about a 12 to 18 month timeline on when they want to be in the market, and they're reviewing sites right now. Had a great meeting with a sporting good concept that we've been talking to for roughly 2 years, really ever since we started. They've been hot and cold on the market. Their target for a market is really a moving target for us. We send them information. They say great. They come back a month later and say, we've changed things. So, we got an LOI secured from them about a year and a half ago on a property in the market, and for whatever reason they changed their mind on that. They said the total market sales weren't high enough, so that was something they changed on their end. We met with them again at Recon last month just to confirm. They said that's still the case. So it's definitely one. Getting a no does not mean no. It just means try again later. So had a really great meeting with the pizza concept. It's a national concept. We've been talking to them for about a year, but we met with them again face to face at Recon. They've told us, got in touch with the franchisee. We got them to drive the market twice within the last 3 months, and they're planning to open Coffeyville next year. We're very excited about that one. One great discussion, ongoing feedback is with it, and I have to be very, this is very
Understood.
confidential information, so I need to be very, very careful with this. But a home hardware outdoor user, there's not a lot of players in that space, so you might be able to do the math on that. But we're currently in talks with them. They take a pretty large site. They also look at backfill opportunities. But we've actually got a call set up with them tomorrow. We've had many calls with them to talk about options, but we've got a follow-up call with them tomorrow. So hoping to have some good news on that. Been in talks with the National Hair Salon. We met with them at Recon. They like the idea. Their typical site's a retail. It's a Walmart shadow center. Obviously, there's not a Walmart shadow center yet. A little far outside the market. We've gotten some pushback from the national retailers about going that far outside of Coffeyville proper and locating out with Walmart. But we're still working on some options for that. And obviously, a fuel user truck stops. With the amount of 18-wheeler traffic, 2,100 18-wheelers per day. Definitely think there's an opportunity for that. A lot of the pushback we've had so far has been the Oklahoma gas tax, it being lower than Kansas, but that's changed. I think it got bumped up 4 or 5 cents within the last couple of months. So with that information, we've had some renewed interest from some of the fuel and truck stop users. So that's the end of the feedback. I would say over the last 2 years, we've probably contacted 110, 120 retailers on Coffeyville's behalf. Obviously that's mostly yeses, a lot of no's, but again, no does not mean no for us. It just means try again later. So I know that was a lot of information. Happy to take any other follow-up questions you guys might have.
Yeah, a lot of good information. I guess, we can use this for other things too, right, Trish?
Yeah.
And Commissioners, we had a discussion several months back, and we reached out to Retail Strategies and to Clay and asked them to come in and provide you with an update. So that's kind of what we're having this evening. And Trish works very closely with Retail Strategies, so it works out that they're both here.
I have a couple questions.
Sure.
Being one of the senior people on this commission, I've seen this map before.
Okay.
And I don't mean this to be a gotcha moment, but out of all these, what has Retail Strategies been involved in recruitment?
We assisted on Coffeyville Plaza with a couple of tenants. They were in discussions with LOIs. We had personal connections with some of those tenants. Have we directly slam dunk brought a tenant to the market? No, we've assisted on a couple others. But really, that's what we are. We're a matchmaker. We're not going to be representing any of these retailers. Any retailer that ever lands in the market is not going to be a representation of us. We're really teeing deals up and providing them to the locals that are executing on those deals. So we've got a great connection with Jared Development. Know those guys over there. They provide excellent feedback for us. We compare notes with them on a regular basis.
Okay. Could you remind me of the renewal date and
I believe we have 1 year remaining on the contract with Retail Strategies.
Okay. And that is the maturity date on that is?
I'm looking back to Stephanie to see if she has that.
You guys know, Clay, do you know?
Honestly, I do not.
Trish is indicating it's August of next year, so it'll be August of 19.
August
A year
of
from now.
19? Okay,
Thank
thank
you,
you.
Trish.
Yes, thank
I
you.
apologize. I don't know that. I'm so focused on talking to retailers that I really don't need.
Well,
You're
and,
not
and
in-
contract
that's
stuff.
fine.
Right.
That's
It's
fine.
not-
I thought we might say the same, we know
Yeah.
now.
So I-
So, go ahead.
I really appreciated your presentation.
Thank
it
you.
was really good. Thank you
Yeah,
very much.
Appreciate that. Thank you.
I would like something quarterly.
Okay.
I don't want you to come from Alabama quarterly
Sure.
necessarily, but if we could get some information,
Yeah, that's no problem.
Yeah.
What part of Alabama?
Birmingham.
Well, we could probably come to you.
Yeah, come on. got some good golf down there. That's your thing.
Good. Any other questions?
I think that pretty well covers it.
Yeah. a lot.
Trish, anything you were gonna add? I mean,
I
you're
was
here,
just gonna
you're
say-
here.
Yeah, Carol, I'm not
Yeah.
next anyway, so.
Might as well come on up.
I was just gonna say that, this data isn't just, we don't just use it for retail. So, the Tyson project we've been working on to show where our workforce is, what our demographics look like. We use this for information for recruitment, for things like that also. It's been helpful for the hospital when they've been doing some of their analysis. When we do some of these small business loans that we've been working on, we provide that data to all of our small business loans too when they apply to make sure that they can do their market studies a little easier. So it helps our small businesses get started too without having to hire someone. We just provide that to them as well. So it really is incredibly useful data.
So, Clay, are you the guy working on Coffeyville, or
No,
you- a
Keith
whole
is.
bunch
Me
of
and Keith. We've got a whole team, but we are the go-to guys for that.
Okay, well, Keith, you drove all the way up here, right? Okay, was there anything you wanna say to Coffeyville with how you're doing with the deal? Huh?
You trusting Clay, this guy knows what he's doing, I've been learning from him for a couple of years now, so,
No, he didn't leave anything out.
no, he did a great job.
Okay, good, good, okay.
And I will say, obviously the Tyson project is going to be huge. If it does happen, retailers don't open on speculation. But I can assure you that we've crafted that into our narrative that could be coming, and there's some excitement and buzz around that. And that's part of the story that we want to tell. If retailers don't know about that, we want to make sure that they know that that's a possibility. And if we can put the pieces together for them once that happens.
You're here, let's talk a minute. It's a great presentation, a lot of good information. I don't know how experienced you are and how much you know about a deal like Tyson, for instance. Let's say a company, not Tyson, but a company with 1,600 people.
Sure.
We get something like that, what would that do to all this program you're working on? The recruiting,
Sure,
what would those numbers do? You realize, do you know that much about the Tyson and everything?
I mean, Trish has informed me on the projected growth. I've seen some of the economic impact numbers. I would just say from a perception standpoint, they would probably reverse that projected growth from a negative to a positive. That's a good start. Talking about 1,800 jobs, you do the math on that. It's roughly probably 2 or 3 people per person or per job. I think that's going to bolster what some of the negative feedback right now. I can't correlate that to it's going to lead to 2 new restaurants, a grocery store, things like that. But I can just say the feedback that we've gotten on that is, hey, if that happens, keep us up to date and let's do something. So,
Good enough, thank you.
thank you.
Yes, thank you.
Appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thank you for coming out.
Safe travel.
Yep, safe travels home. This time we'll move on to the report from Montgomery County Action Council. Trish Purdon will give an update from on the MAC activities.
All right, I'm standing behind the podium because I have a cold and I don't want you guys to catch it. But I am going to hand you a thing, so use your Purell after talking to me, okay?
Sorry, I didn't get this in the packet, but had some data I was trying to get updated. Let's get that.
Thank you.
And I have additional copies here for anyone else who wants a copy.
This has been a busy year at MAC. Just rounding out my first year there after being here at the city. This is our annual presentation. We just had our big board meeting a couple weeks ago. Since then, we've done the big tour at Tyson Foods down in Springdale, Arkansas. So that covers the first page of this report. We had a group of 14 folks that came and toured a research and development facility, a hatchery, some contract grower farms, and a production facility. I didn't go into a lot of detail on this because I do plan on bringing a full presentation with some pictures and things, as well as some of the other attendees to come and join us to really give you a full overview. But I would definitely encourage you to talk to your own commissioner, Jim Taylor. He joined us on the tour if you have any questions in the meantime. But we'll have that presentation for you in more detail, hopefully at the next commission meeting. But just an overview of where we're at on that project specifically before I get into some of the other things we've done. We're still probably a year away from any announcements. After they announce, we're at least 24 months for construction with all the permitting process that goes along with that. It's a 6-month startup. Once they get started, it'll take 6 months to really get the employees trained, all the automation going, and even then, they'll roll in their employees over the next 2 or 3 years. So they're not going to hire 1,600 people on day one. It's going to be more like 300 or 400 year one, 300 or 400 year two, and so on and so forth. So we're not going to be looking at a mass chaos of people moving to town, but it will allow us some time between 1 year from now and when they get up and running to really accommodate some good growth. So working with companies like Retail Strategies, working with different housing groups, with our bankers to really accommodate new housing growth, any utility expansions we might need to do to accommodate that housing growth, things like that we have some time to do. So I wanted to make sure you guys understood that piece of this. It also gives us some time to work with the Economic Development Administration, the federal agency for economic development. We have been in constant communication with them, as well as USDA on the federal level, to talk about creating a program to not only support Tyson if they come, but other industry that could come to Coffeyville along with that. With any massive project like this, when you have this kind of potential, you kind of get some of that federal attention. And we want to maximize the use of federal tax dollars and grant dollars that we can to benefit our community. You know, if we can improve our water supply for companies like John Deere, MJD Products, expand the capacity for our existing companies as well as a new one, that's really what the ultimate goal is. So we've been working on that in the background, trying to make some progress in creating a type of program in combination with USDA and EDA to accommodate that project. Impact, I kind of touched on it, 1,500 jobs, $320 million new facility. There's a lot of questions if they're going to buy the Amazon building. Right now, I don't think they're buying the Amazon building. The plans I've seen are definitely a new construction. That doesn't mean that building doesn't get swallowed up by either Tyson because they see the potential in a building that's ready to go for that, or another company that's interested. And I've already had several inquiries and an RFP that's submitted on that building should Tyson come. So we have active RFPs that have happened just because of this project. And I don't know necessarily that if they are suppliers or companies that work with Tyson, but it's allowed us some national attention for Coffeyville, had made the news that we have these sites and available buildings. We've had a lot of inquiries on our website with the new website that we rolled out this year. Location 1, we've had hundreds of hits on those buildings now, where the traction really before had been, 30, 40 hits a year, and we're well over 100 hits. Just this month we had 76 on those 2 buildings on our website. So the traffic that's looking at those buildings has increased considerably in the last few months. So whether or not we get Tyson, I think it's still good that we've made some national attention on that. Going to retail bits of what I do at MAC. We have been working with Retail Strategies. I went out to the annual retail conferences in Las Vegas in May. Had some really good conversations, continued some conversations with some companies that have actively been looking at Coffeyville for quite some time. I've been trying to recruit some of these for 2 or 3 years. But that's the conference where we were able to negotiate the Dollar Tree contract, the Shoe Sensation contract, and the new Dollar General was when we went 2 years ago to that conference. So we got 3 new retailers from that conference. I'm really hopeful that we'll have some traction from this conference we went to. I talked with Jimmy John's, Domino's, Maurice's. I talked with a couple other dollar stores, a chain daycare facility. That was something I thought that learning from them might help even our ELC to learn from what they're doing. So some really good conversations were had at that conference. Going to local small businesses, we've helped 4 small businesses either expand or open this year. We've processed 4 loans, 2 expansions, 1 startup, and 1 acquisition. And then we have 7 active requests for proposals out to Kansas Department of Commerce right now on existing facilities and sites in Coffeyville. A couple of those I think are really, really good fits. The other ones are probably some long shots, but you know, you have to try. Doesn't hurt to try. I'm actually currently negotiating one where we might be negotiating 2 of those companies sharing a facility that we submitted both on, that both the buildings were a little too big, but if they work together, maybe they can do it together. So we're trying to negotiate that deal. On the back is our budget summary. Our annual budget allocation from the city of Coffeyville last year was $25,000. We're very grateful for the increase that you provided to us last year. It has been incredibly helpful with this project, with the Tyson project. We didn't budget $30,000, $40,000 for marketing before we applied for the Tyson project a year ago. So the extra support that the city did provide in 2017 out of the Economic Development Sales Tax Fund, not the incentive fund, we received an additional $8,428 to pay for the marketing, the public information campaign, the 3 different public meetings that we've held around Coffeyville. So all of those monies went to cover the costs to put those on. I am requesting, if staff can look in the budget, if there's any money in the Economic Development Fund for this year or upcoming year, an additional $5,000 to cover some of that marketing. Right now, the projection looks like we're probably going to be close to $30,000 to $35,000 on this Tyson project recruitment. And that's because we're planning on hosting 3 or 4 more public meetings and just space and time and marketing materials that it just takes time. Mileage back and forth to Topeka and to Springdale and Manhattan, so is a majority of all of that. So that's it in a nutshell. I'll keep it pretty short and sweet. I've been in front of you a lot lately. I'm probably going to be at the next commission meeting and the meeting after that, knowing how some of these small business loans are going, and also with the Tyson presentation. So I would be happy to answer any questions about what's going on at MAC.
All good information.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Very, very nice little
Thank
flyer.
you. Yep.
You know,
I agree.
I'd like to see us get you more than 5,000 additional myself. I'll say that right now. We need to talk about it some more, of course, but 5,000 doesn't go very far. Yeah, but I'd like to see you get a, I mean, we can talk about the economic funds a little bit later, I guess.
We've actually, we have 2 budget meetings scheduled for next week, so that
Okay.
would be a perfect time to discuss that.
Right,
Yep.
right.
I just wanted to get it out there so staff can kind of have those discussions while you're
Sure,
doing budget.
sure.
So if it's not acceptable and you can't do it, let me know, and we'll try to
Sure.
make it work somehow other ways.
Hopefully
So,
we can do something to help you out, Trish.
all right.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, well,
This time we'll hear an update from Kansas T-Works Projects. Wayne Goodmanson, KDOT Area 4 engineer, will report on the status of the T-Works project.
Well, good afternoon. I am Wayne Goodmanson. There's been a change. I'm the district engineer now.
Okay.
And it's great to be back here today. At least I'm going to say that and paraphrase it now because I borrowed a vehicle from Independence, and when I turned down 5th Street, which we built about 20 years ago or 30 years ago, and I worked on it, the low tire light came on. So if I go out here and I have to change a tire, I might not be quite so happy. But thanks for letting me be here. About 10 years ago, we had this program called T-Works. And at that point in time, there was $10 million that was allocated to Montgomery County on US 169. Well, one of those projects was doing the intersection out east, the 160 and 169 intersection, and we've got a design to build an overpass, take 160 over 169. Well, then when our budget plight hit us, that project got put on a delayed project. There were a number of projects. A job in Caney was delayed as well, and that was to 4-lane 75 from the 4-lane in Caney to the Oklahoma state line. So the 2 Montgomery County projects I had were delayed. Well, the legislature passed a bill this year, and in that bill, it authorized the KDOT to bond $200 million for fiscal year 18 and $200 million for fiscal year 19. The caveat in that bill was that the secretary or his designee, and at this point in time I'm the designee, reach out to our partners that were involved in these delayed projects and ask if these projects are still a priority for the community or for the governing body. And so that's basically what I'm here for, is just to see if that 169 job is still a priority in the eyes of Coffeyville. And what the secretary has also been tasked with doing then, if these projects are priorities and stuff, he's been tasked to go back there and say, okay, how can I make this money stretch? What projects should I try to fulfill and construct? What ones should I not? We have 8 in the district that were delayed projects, and I met with one governing body, and they're not interested in pursuing that. So you know right away that there's not going to be any money or any effort put onto that project. And I'm not saying that even if this is a priority project for you, that we're going to be awarded any funds to build it. But it just tells the secretary that, hey, it's still an important project for me. And so that's why I'm here. I'm just here to ask and see if that 169 job is still an important project for the community of Coffeyville.
Okay, well, was there something in here on this? Did I miss it?
Yep, right here.
Okay, I missed that one.
Page 30.
So,
Okay,
in my opinion,
Can you
I-
just in 2 sentences say what the 169 project is?
right.
Okay, US 160
Should have been talking.
goes east out of Independence, and it has the intersection with 169. Over the last number of years, and it was back when I was a pup, first got to Independence, there have been a number of crashes out at that intersection. And so then when this T-Works thing started and the program started for safety on 169, that intersection area was looked at, and that's where a project then was created for it. And 169 is starting to become a major player. There's a 169 coalition that's starting to try to develop and kind of get to the stature of the 69 association over on the east part and stuff. But there were a lot of crashes out at that intersection. And so what the design came up with then was to build an interchange there. And they're going to take 160 over 169, and then you'll have ramps getting onto 169. They threw around an idea of a roundabout, but if we have a lot of trucks and stuff out there, a roundabout I don't think would be really efficient. And besides that, we have 4 lanes, 2 lanes, and all that stuff out there where we converge. So that's where this T-Works project came into play at.
So in your data, is there less crashes now?
I do not know. I have not researched the data. Nothing's changed out there, so.
No, I was
No.
in the back of an ambulance for quite a few years, and I know I went out there quite a few times. So
Yeah, Cherryvale, they were a big player in it. Independence, we came all around the area, and I solicited these places too. Coffeyville was one of them many, many years ago. You know, are you interested in this, and is there something we can do? We heard a lot of outcries.
Yeah.
I was put on a task force, a local task force, and there's no reason that those crashes are out there other than the fact that a lot of the elderly population don't realize that that semi heading down 169 is doing probably 75 or 80 mile an hour, you know, because it's so open out there. And so, and then the other high accident group or crash group were the young kids that really weren't paying much attention and stuff like that. But I cannot answer your question because I do not know.
I'll tell you, some of the worst things that I've seen in my existence have happened at that intersection.
At that intersection?
At that intersection. And as far as I'm concerned, that is there's a whole lot of explanation words I'd like to use, but that's a priority in my book. I mean, that is a major priority because I can't even begin to explain the things that I've seen there.
Oh, and I understand completely. When I was the area engineer in Independence a number of years ago, I got called out there because we flagged traffic for KHP and the others at the emergency personnel. And when I got out there, my superintendent was gone that day, unfortunately, and I got out there and there were 4 body bags laying over in the ditch by the time I got there, you know, so.
It's a, and there's really, like you absolutely said, there's no reason for it. You can see for a mile and a half in each direction.
Yeah.
But for some reason, it happens, and countless, you know, and the thing is if it continues to happen, it needs to be addressed. And if there's going to be money spent, that would be a in my opinion, money well spent.
It's up to you guys.
Go ahead, Wayne.
I mean, it's up to you guys, and I'm not trying to twist arms, you know. I'm just, if you're not interested, that's fine. If you are, that's fine.
Let me make one thing real clear here. I don't think that you're trying to twist our arm. I'm trying to twist yours. That needs to be, something needs to be done.
I wish we could have talked. I didn't do my job, okay? I missed that one. And I've been out of town, you've heard it before a couple times. But I wish we could talk about some of these as a group on this one with the coalition, with the 169 coalition ahead of time.
Well, I think this is a little bit different, Commissioner Taylor. I think, Wayne, correct me if I'm wrong, I think you're just looking for some feedback from the local communities, and you'll take that back to Topeka.
That's correct. What I'm doing is looking for feedback to see that this is still a priority, that you don't want to put it on the back burner, or you do want to bring it up front.
Okay. Yes.
And like I said, the secretary has got $200 million to work with. The need is much greater than the cash flow, as you guys are all well aware of. And so he's going to go back with input from the partners and say, okay, you guys think it is a priority project. I've got other areas that think it's a priority project. And he'll say, okay, you know, now how do I know it's priority? Well, if it is a priority for you, I would like to see you put that in your minutes. And I'll just say, okay, Coffeyville, this meeting, it was in their minutes that it's a priority for them.
Okay.
And that's where I'm at.
Okay, so where does the money go if it doesn't go there, for instance?
I can't say because, as I said, I have 8 projects in my district.
Okay.
There are 69, the 69 people are wanting their 2 projects built.
Right.
There's a job, and this is an important job too. There's a job up in Anderson County on 169, putting shoulders and stuff on, which is a real important safety job too.
Right.
But I can't say it's more safety needed than what I have out east of Independence.
But also, Wayne, as you travel through the cities and a community doesn't, they no longer have any interest in a former project, then you're kind of going to remove that potentially from the project list.
I won't, but the secretary very much
Exactly.
might.
So.
Yeah.
Well, obviously, we want our roads improved and our safety conditions improved. And I still feel like I wish I knew a little bit more, but it's kind of a no-brainer. We want to do it. You know, we're definitely interested.
And that's all I'm here to find out is make sure it's still a priority project for the city of Coffeyville.
As Clay nailed me before, a white 40-year-old male that grew up just north of Wichita, they've been working on Kellogg since I was born.
Yeah.
I would love to see that intersection where so many people die, maybe take some of those funds that have been a 40, 50-year project, And I understand they have more population, but, I mean, if it's that dangerous and people are dying, it's obviously a priority.
It's interesting. It's like what I had mentioned earlier. You look out at that site and you can see forever. I met with a KOAM reporter back in my younger days, many, many years ago, and she got out of the car and she said, I can't believe this is such a dangerous intersection. You can see forever. Well, because Paul's here, I had to correct her. It's not a dangerous intersection. It's an intersection with a lot of crashes. If I say it's a dangerous intersection, I might be meeting Paul in different terms. But that's what I'm here for. And I don't, like I said, I don't want to be twisting your arms. If your Coffeyville's still interested as a priority project, I would appreciate if you just put that in your minutes, and I'll tell my secretary or my boss on Monday that I met with the commission, and it's still a priority project for the Coffeyville Commission.
I think there's a general consensus amongst
That
the
there
group
is.
that this is,
Put it in the
Yes.
minutes.
that this needs to go in the minutes as a priority.
I think-
It'll be shown in the minutes.
And
Thank you.
again, I want to just emphasize, that doesn't mean we're going to get the money. But if we
Right.
don't have a priority on it, we know we're not going to get money.
Absolutely.
Yeah, we're learning how the system works a little bit here.
Good, because I've been in the system for 39 years, and I still don't think I have it figured out.
I got you.
But
Right.
I just want to finish up by saying it was a pleasant trip here tonight. I mean, coming down Fifth Street reminded me when we took the bricks out 30, 40 years ago. And the courthouse, I haven't been in it since you've remodeled it, but it is fantastic.
Thank you.
So every now and then, I do hang out in Chuck's office over at the wastewater treatment plant, so I do know how that is.
It smells a lot better here.
Well, I'll quit boring you. Thank you very much.
Wayne, I do need one point of clarification. Is this just for the 169 project, or is it for both projects?
It's up to you. It's up to the commission. When we were first doing T-Works, there wasn't a lot of interest in the Caney part, the 75. But I've got two project numbers that I can leave you with if you want to put them into your minutes, or if you just want to make reference to 75 4-laning at Caney and 169 Junction
And they're
East.
both, the numbers are in this
Okay.
memo that you sent.
Okay.
Yep.
It's however you want.
Well, that's up to the commission.
I mean, my opinion is if we're prioritizing projects, the Caney project,
Is secondary
Yeah.
to the 169 issue.
right? Because we have a real issue with the 169, 160 interchange.
If
That is
I don't want
something
to.
that
I don't want to throw
cosmetically it
stones or
might look
twist
better.
arms or anything, but I think if I were, I would put down what your priority project is, and if both are important to you, then mention both. I've talked to Montgomery County, and they've got both sides. So
Yep.
My official stance is if we're gonna allocate money to a project in Montgomery County and we have two choices, that's the choice. The 169 is the one that needs to be addressed,
I agree.
because
Caney's gonna say the other one, people over there. But if you put down two of them, might you get one?
I can't say. I really don't know.
Might not get
I
either.
really don't know.
And then you might not get either.
Right.
But I doubt that's the case.
Trish, can we put you on the spot?
Yes, absolutely.
You have a lot of,
And Tricia's going to give a letter too, I think.
Yes, I am.
so you have a lot of discussions about truck traffic and how it affects our businesses, and
Yes.
how does that affect the Caney area?
Well, both of them have very heavy truck traffic. Especially with Spears, they're starting to get a lot of products in from Port of Catoosa and some of the raw goods. So it does make sense to have that also on the list as something that needs to be done for Montgomery County. Both those projects are extremely important, but the 169 Corridor Coalition also agrees that for the entire 169 Corridor Coalition, that 160, 169 interchange is number 2 of the priority list for that group as well. The Welda area up in Anderson County is the number 1 priority for the US 169 Corridor Coalition, because they've even had more fatalities as there's no shoulder of any kind up there, and,
Right.
and they've had some people go off the road or head-on collisions there. So for every community, every county along that corridor, the 160, 169 is probably really high on the likelihood. But again, Caney is really starting to see a lot of truck traffic coming inbound from the south. So I think it's good to have it on the list, on the letter, saying it's a priority, but definitely say number 1 and number 2, and that's how I plan on
Yeah.
putting
I
it
like
together.
that better.
Good input.
I think we ought to do that because both of them are important, and I think we ought to do that.
And just to
that's-
clarify, it's from the city limits where it's 4-lane and it kind of curves around, it would connect 4-lane.
Right.
Yeah, it will connect the Oklahoma 4-lane where it stopped.
Uh-huh.
And they told me back in '86 that we had to build that 4-lane, and now it's what, 2018? It's where that 4-lane stops in Oklahoma to where the 4-lane starts in Caney.
Okay, good. So priority number 1 is 160, 169, and priority number 2 is the 75. Yes.
Yeah.
And that's how I plan on wording it also for the Montgomery County Action Council letter that we'll be submitting to Wayne this week, so.
Very good.
Okay.
So
Thank you very much, Wayne.
Thank you.
So where are you from, Wayne?
I live in Independence.
Oh, do you? Okay.
I made a wrong turn on the interstate about 40 years ago. I was heading to Minneapolis, St. Paul, and wound up in Topeka, Kansas. So,
Okay, Wayne.
great to be back. Thank you.
Thank you.
Great to have you back, Wayne.
This time we'll move into new business. Resolution number R-18-49, a resolution to authorize execution of a construction contract with Goins Enterprises for replacement of water main on West 10th Street. Engineering Superintendent Thomas Osborne will make comments.
Good evening, Mayor and Commissioners. As over the past few years in the street projects that we've been doing, we've always looked at the infrastructure that's underneath our streets as well as the streets themselves. We have received a CDBG grant to do essentially what we did on 9th Street to 10th Street. Before we do that, there is a fairly 16-inch water line that runs underneath 10th Street. This project would be to replace that water line from, I believe it's from Washita, but I can't remember the exact locations, to Buckeye. But all of that that's actually under the street would get replaced, brand new, new taps for all of the residents on that lane or that section of street. And this would be to be done before we do the street project later on. We also are planning to bring forward a street project that is the last, essentially it's a double block, but from Gillum to Buckeye. That's in design right now, actually. So hopefully we'll be able to bring that forward as well. And this water line covers underneath that section as well. Be happy to answer any questions you have. It was Goins Enterprises. We had 4 bidders. The total cost was not to exceed $777,159, and that comes out of the Water Capital Improvement Fund. So.
Any questions from the commission?
Nope.
I'll make a motion to approve resolution number R-18-49 for adoption.
I'll second.
Motion was made by Mayor Bauer and seconded by Commissioner Doan to approve resolution number R-18-49 for adoption. Commissioner Van Oster.
Aye.
Commissioner Williams.
Aye.
Mayor Bauer.
Aye.
Commissioner Doan.
Aye.
Commissioner Taylor.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you, Thomas. Resolution number R-18-50, a resolution to approve a loan application for distressed housing reinvestment program for properties in the Ville. Peggy Steele, 1122 West 9th Street. City Clerk, Cindy Price will make comments.
Mayor and Commissioners, Peggy has just purchased her 7th house in this renovation project that she is involved with. Just a month ago, we brought to you a resolution to approve a loan for 1120 West 9th. If you have driven down 9th Street, you'll see she's well underway with renovation of that property. We're seeing some pictures up here. Thank you, Chris. And this house, the house next to 1122 West 9th, which is just directly across the street from those two houses. She has purchased the red house on the corner of Gillum and 9th Street. She has applied for a loan in the amount of $40,000. And just as a reminder, this program, the distressed housing program, has been set up to be the gap financing in this renovation. The total amount would be $40,000. 25% of that loan balance is eligible for loan forgiveness up to $10,000 per property. So once she's paid $30,000 back on the loan, then the remaining $10,000 is forgiven. Peggy is here and wants to speak with you about a project, this project plus what else she's working on.
She does?
She does.
That's
Peggy's
supposed to be
here,
fun.
yes.
Come on up, Peggy.
Peggy's here.
I just want to go back to one thing. Chris, can you put the pictures up of the before the streets for 11/19, 11/21? This will just take a minute. I know it's a long meeting and it's long. But remember this? This is what 9th Street looked like before you all approved the streets and sidewalks and did the sides. I would not have invested had those streets and sidewalks not been done. That made the difference. That one house is grandma's. This is what it looks like now. It's significant. And I go back and I'm living there and I'm shocked at what it looked like before because I've forgotten. So thank you. And thanks for having the courage to do some of the things that you've done around rent controls. I think we see a difference already on that.
Thank the taxpayers.
Pardon me?
Thank the taxpayers, mainly.
Well, thank you, taxpayers. We're all taxpayers, aren't we?
Right, we're all taxpayers.
What we're doing is we are now trying to get a critical mass at the end of the 1100 block. And this fifth house represents 5 houses that are grouped together. And as you go down the 1100 block of 9th Street and move west and you get to the end where we are, you will start to see a significant difference, not only in the houses but the landscaping. And one of the things that's happened is 4 different neighbors immediately adjoining these properties have come to me and asked for help. And so we're trying to find ways to give them paint and advice so they can improve their property. That's even more important than having boys clubs and girls clubs do their houses for them because they're doing them on their own. So it's slow, but we are seeing progress. One of the things that's happened is people say to me, I would like to do this too. I would like to buy a bungalow and fix it up, but I cannot get a loan through a bank. My husband's a CPA. He's taken a great interest in this. We are currently working on a business model, and we don't have it worked totally out yet, but where we believe that we can seek limited investment from some people that we know and then reinvest in qualified applicants who want to fix up bungalows. We would prefer 9th Street, but we'll have to see how that goes. And they buy them for anywhere from $5,000 to $15,000, or we buy them and do curb appeal first and make sure they're safe, get the people inside the homes, and through sweat equity and through some kind of gate that they have to go through in order to continue to improve their property, they can then become owners. And we're working on how that would look and how that would work. We think we could probably look at 5, right now we're looking at 5 to 6 properties a year for this group. So it's not a lot, but it makes a difference.
Sure.
And it's the broken glass theory that will, cascade to other areas, and we see that happening. So thank you. If you come down 9th Street and you see us on the porch at Grandma's, you can stop and we'll take you through. And we even might have some beverages and things for you if it's after 5. So feel free, but thank you very much for your support.
Hang in there a minute, Peggy.
Thank you.
So this loan, you've got several of them. How many you got now?
We have 7.
7 of them. This one's for $40,000. You're eating up that loan. I'm a little bit, I'd like to see some other people get some of that, but they're not applying.
That's right.
So with that said, how long is this loan for? I see the doc here, but I don't see how long it is.
These loans are 10-year loans.
10 year.
Probably they'll be paid off long before that. it's all cash flow, and it all depends on, you know, my own personal
Okay.
So-
situation.
I did have one question.
Mhm.
So you're wanting to borrow 40,000. Just, I know that's what we do, but I see what our available balance is.
Right.
And that's not equal to 40,000.
That is after the 40,000. That's
That's
what's
after,
left
okay, that's after the
40,000
40,000.
is taken out,
Okay,
yes.
I was just reading it wrong then, because I wasn't sure. I was kind of wondering where we were going to make up the 18,000, so, okay. All right.
So, let me ask a question here. I should have talked about this probably in private, but the public's wanting to know, and so you've got this thing going, how's the other ones doing? They doing okay?
They're complete. We have renters, and we haven't had problems with the renters. And
You
so
what?
far,
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
we have renters. They're completed. We have people renting them.
Right.
And they're cash flow neutral right now. So, you know, I'm not making a lot of money, but I'm not losing money.
So, okay. Okay.
Beautified a neighborhood.
Yes, you did.
Well, and then when the loans are paid off, and when I finish putting some things in that we should have done originally, like new appliances instead of used reconditioned appliances, which really brings down, you know, the profit margins, and that's, I'm learning. I went to Craigslist on the first 2 houses and bought a lot of things, and they didn't last very long, and so I'm replacing them, and that brings down the profitability on every rental, as you know, so. So
Okay.
we're going with new appliances now for these houses. Yeah.
Okay, well, it's, you know, no one else would want to do it, I know that, or not too many people would want to do it, you know.
Hasn't been.
Well, it costs a lot more than what I'm borrowing. You know, it's amazing what it really costs when you go in and do the foundational work, oftentimes the roof, you look at the plumbing, the air conditioning, the heating. I mean, I can go through the litany of things, you have lists, and people don't have the money to do it. And so this has become a personal mission, almost a cult following, you know, in many ways. And so we don't want to lose money on it, but we realize it's not financially a great investment right now. But emotionally and for our purpose and where we are in our life, it's a great investment. So we're on target with that.
Okay, Peggy, thank you.
Yes, thank you, Peggy.
Thank you.
Any other questions from the commission?
I make a motion to approve resolution number R-18-50 for adoption.
I'll second.
Who seconded?
Mayor.
Motion was made by Commissioner Van Oster and seconded by Mayor Bauer to approve resolution number R-18-50 for adoption. Commissioner Williams.
Aye.
Commissioner Dunn.
Aye.
Mayor Bauer.
Aye.
Commissioner Taylor.
Aye.
Commissioner Van Oster.
Aye.
City managers report. Interim city manager Mike Shook will make comments.
Mayor, Commissioners, I hope you all had a chance to get out this weekend, this Saturday, and enjoy the Coffeyville Summer Celebration. I'd like to extend our thanks to Gail Smith, Mike Bradley, and Andy Duncan for all their hard work and countless hours and investment into the weekend. Thanks to all the volunteers, including the city's public works departments. They helped set everything up, and so our thanks go out to them as well. It was a fantastic fireworks show. They had a great slate of events for the entire day for the community to enjoy, so thank you again to those group of volunteers. I'll add that the 11th Street project is nearly complete, with Graham Construction finishing up the stormwater inlets. All lanes of traffic are open. The striping has been completed. And we want to thank the public for being patient as we work through that project. Another project, although not a city project, Klein Road is now open to full traffic. Another item, city staff continues to work on a budget, finalizing budgets this week, and we do have 2 budget work sessions scheduled for next week, Tuesday, July 17th, and Wednesday, July 18th, and both of these are scheduled to begin at 6:30 p.m. in the Osage Conference Room. We will have dinner provided, so yeah, so please put that on your calendars if you can. And that's all the comments I have this evening.
Thank you, Mike. Comments from the public. The public is free to comment on items not listed on the agenda. Please address comments to the commission as a body and be mindful of others who may also wish to speak by limiting your comments to 3 minutes. All right. Comments from the commission and staff.
There's been some buzz that I've heard, basically just about the walking trail. Just can we reiterate when it's starting? Just a little information about it.
I'm going to defer to Thomas Osborne. If Thomas, could you come up and speak to this?
And it's all positive. There's nothing negative that's spoken about having a walking trail in town, so.
Right,
Absolutely.
absolutely.
Yeah, hopefully we're finalizing the contracts. When I brought it to you guys a couple of weeks ago, we're trying to extend that to utilize all our grant funds. So we had to republicize the notice in the papers, and that something got messed up with that. I'm not sure what, because that's all done by KDHE. But basically, we were getting ready to send the contracts to Jeff, and they called and said, "Hey, something happened, and the notice didn't get put in the paper." Even though we received a letter that everything was fine, no comments were back. So that's being redone again. Get the contracts out. Hopefully, by the end of the month, we'll start construction, and we have that hard deadline end of September to be completed. Again, we potentially can get that extended if we need to finish up that project. But it's on its way. Like I said, we're just waiting for all the I's to be dotted and T's to be crossed with KDHE as they kind of oversee the cleanup programs for the EPA. So.
And that'll be phase one of the trail, correct?
Yep, that would be phase one of the overall trail. Eventually, this trail, we'd like to see it go south, at least to 8th Street, and continue north into LeClaire Park and on up into Feaster Park. So.
Good.
Thank you, Thomas.
Right.
Thank you.
Right. Well, I was just gonna say, I wrote a letter to the editor about Tyson deal. That was quite an experience. And it's my understanding anybody who wants to go over there to that Tyson plant and see it, they gotta schedule something. Trish left, but anybody's welcome to go there and look at it. And I put it in my letter to the editors, but it was a nice experience. I just say it here. Did that in the last 2 weeks. Everybody really enjoyed it. Didn't get any negative feedback from anybody that went. So that was fun. It was very educational. And anyway, just say that. That's what I want to say that. That's all.
Good. Good. When will we be officially finished with 11th Street, with the water inlets or the storm drains?
I think he's looking at another 2 weeks, is he not, Thomas?
I'm not sure. I didn't have a chance to talk to him today. But he had 8 left as of the 4th. So.
Okay.
We'll check back.
Okay. Yeah, just curious when that was going to be done. They've done a good job of roping them off. It's just always concerning when you're 45 and you've got, yellow or orange barriers out in the middle of the road. So.
Well, one more thing, I don't know if this is the proper time to talk about it, but the car race thing, do we want to talk about that in a different setting?
I think we'll let us get some additional information
Okay.
and get back to the commission.
Good.
Because, those people selling tickets to that already, or
I believe they are, yes.
we got to get on it.
Yeah.
So, okay,
All right.
good enough.
Any other
Okay.
questions, comments?
I don't.
I'll make a
Thank
motion. Oh, I'm sorry.
No,
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Commissioner Williams. I think that was a second.
I do too. Tired second.
Motion was made by Mayor Bauer and seconded by Commissioner Williams to adjourn. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.